Hey, wagwan. Ooh, that might have been cultural appropriation of some kind. I shall duly put myself on the naughty step and do my penance. Yeah. Anyway, I hope everyone's all right in the circumstances. It is the 7th of June, still, just, and yeah, it's I don't know, it's about 11 o'clock at night, but I'm absolutely buzzing. I feel full of energy, so I'm going to expend some of it making a video that I will possibly put online for posterity as part of the sharing thoughts, musings, feelings, doings, beings, etc. And yeah, and the reason I'm buzzing tonight is that I've just met up with a fantastic bunch of people that we used to meet up quite regularly. Usually, like, we'd hire a village hall and stuff, but that option hasn't been open to us for a while. But lately we've been able to do that, and just so nice. Not a mask in sight. None of this cowering away from people. None of this fucking Sieg Heil elbow bump shit. It's like proper hugs. Hey, how you doing? It really, like old friends should do when they meet each other. That's normal. That's as in old normal. Normal. None of this crap that certain people seem to be convinced that we should all be embracing and just accepting for our own good and for everyone else's good. So that was great, and the overwhelming impression that I got was of deep cynicism and fed upness, and of the authorities, certainly, and deep skepticism as to the idea that there ever was a pandemic. And to be honest, I wasn't quite expecting that. I was expecting that some people would have been, a little bit tetchy, a little bit, keeping their distance. But no one is scared of the Rona anymore. Even those who I think were at the beginning have had the scales well and truly lifted from their eyes, and are just fucking sick and tired of it. Obviously, there are those that are still doing their utmost to ensure that on the 21st of June in the UK, things do not go back to normal, that we don't escape from this. And obviously the kicker is and quite a big kicker, is the vaccine issue, the needlecraft, and the concerted attempts by former prime ministers and serial warmongers to create some sort of apartheid state or an apartheid world where needlecrafters rule okay, and those who don't indulge in needlework can, I don't know, maybe find a nice concentration camp to settle down in. Sorry, that's in poor taste. But you know what I mean. But anyway, a lovely evening, and yeah, we've had glorious weather in the UK and in the southeast of England anyway, and we've had I certainly had what I felt was the most normal summer weekend that I've had, God, in over a year. I was in London for some of it. Went to a cricket match in a park in southeast London. I know nothing about cricket. It was being organised by a friend of my other half, whose brother sadly died of cancer earlier this year, and he was a very good and very keen cricket player. So his brother organised a match with old friends of theirs, because to raise money for the hospice where Liam had spent the last months of his life, and it was obviously a poignant occasion, because we were remembering remembering the death of a loved one, but it was just lovely to be doing something so, I mean, so really unremarkable, so very English, so very unremarkable, but just, you know, almost anathema in these days, which is bizarre. But it was a lovely afternoon, and also my son plays football. He plays league football, and he's in the under-18s, and he's that's all back on again. And so I went to see him play football on Sunday, which was also great, because for a good part of last year they were deprived of that. Which is quite, which is not something to be underestimated or overlooked. Just, you know, things like that keep kids focused and positive, and not necessarily out of trouble, but in some cases, yes, out of trouble. In some cases, those kids would ordinarily be, you know, training in sport, or, you know, channeling their energies into very constructive, positive things, would be doing a lot more destructive, negative things with their time. So that has been a real casualty of this, you know, these insane policies that have just been applied to the country as a whole. So yeah, a refreshingly normal few days, but yeah, we shall see, because there's obviously the bigger, the mood music surrounding the needlecraft is the thing that is, you know, really starting to get louder, and strenuous efforts being made by former British Prime Ministers and serial warmongering shitbags to create some sort of apartheid society, or an apartheid world, where needle crafters rule okay, and non-needle crafters, I don't know, find themselves a gulag somewhere perhaps. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, one thing I did definitely want to mention today was the whole the dreaming. I know a lot of us have had fairly intense dreams over the last few weeks, as I did, but in the last few days it's almost as though they stopped, and that's quite unusual for me, certainly not to dream. I generally do dream, and I have for a long time been keeping a fairly careful and detailed diary of my dreams. So I had about 3-4 nights on the bounce where I dreamt nothing, or nothing that I could remember, not even little fragments or snippets that I could, you know, try and piece together. But this morning, I was woken up by the cat coming in through the bedroom window, which he does quite frequently at about, I don't know, 4 o'clock or something, and he sort of settled down by my feet, and obviously the window was open and the blind was open, so the early dawn sunlight streaming in. So I lay there for a bit, tossed and turned, and went back to sleep. And it must have been in that, then I woke up properly at 7 o'clock, so it was in about that 2-hour period from say 5 to 7. I dreamt 2 extremely vivid things, or there are 2 standout vivid things from that dream that I'm just going to mention now. And the first was that I was in town, not the town where I live, but just in a fairly generic high street, and going into shops, getting groceries. And I don't wear a mask into anywhere. I haven't worn one into a grocery store ever since this whole thing has started. And so I was going around the shops, and there was a woman who she seemed to have multiple limbs or something. She was ordinarily dressed and she looked human, but she had not tentacles, she had more than 4 limbs. And she was sort of swarming around me first, and then other people who were unmasked, saying, there's inspectors up the road and I'm going to tell them where you are and they're going to come and get you. And I imagine I told her to fuck off or something like that. I think there was some choice words exchanged. And I went into the shop unmasked, but as soon as I went in, it was almost like everything changed. I mean, the colours became sort of brighter, more intense, and the atmosphere got more oppressive. And I was standing there waiting in the queue, and I started to feel really worried and apprehensive, thinking, oh my goodness, who are these inspectors? Are they actually going to come? Are they people that could do me harm? And I decided to just sort of, okay, I don't need groceries today. I turned and left the shop. And the next part of the dream that I remember clearly was just before I woke up. There was music playing, not in the real world. In my dream, there was music playing. I couldn't hum it, I couldn't sing it. I don't know what it was, but it was real sort of triumphal kind of marching music. And I saw rising up in front of me the figure of what I knew, I just instinctively knew, was Thor, as in thunder god of Norse mythology, rising up in front of me. I wasn't seeing him from the front, so I didn't get any sort of image of his face. You know, I hadn't transposed, an actor's face onto his. This was just his view from the back, and I just knew that it was that is what it was. And as this music was playing, he drew out his hammer and he just brought it down, not on me, just on the ground, on whatever was in front of him. And it was like a massive, just an explosion of white light. And that's when I woke up. And it was just, whoa, what the fuck was that? And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've been thinking about that all day, and it's yeah, it took me quite a while to get going in the morning, because I sort of normally just get up and have coffee, and then I'm kind of at my desk doing or doing whatever I've got to do for the day within half an hour or so. But it actually took me I just had to sit with that for a good hour and a half, just kind of going over it, and I was trying to remember the music, because is it a piece of music I've heard before? I don't think it was, but as I say, it's just kind of completely evaporated from my mind. So who knows, maybe I will hear it completely by accident, and that will trigger the memory. But yeah, that was Thor smashing Corona Karen. I don't know. Yeah, that was after, as I say, four days of dream drought. That was quite something to bring it back with a bang. So yeah, there we go. Obviously we've got the new moon this week, Thursday, I think. That'll be the new moon in Gemini, and the sun is still going to be in Gemini. Yeah, so I'll be doing what I usually do over the dark moon period, when there's no moon visible in the sky at all. Will be just paying my respects to Hecate, leaving food out for the animals, and just sort of going inwards. But the Gemini energy around the new moon is traditionally sort of quite intense and quite active, whereas new moon energy is generally very sort of passive and inward looking. Gemini is quite an active sign, and the energy under that new moon can be rather different from other ones. But yeah, I will, whatever the weather, I will spend it in the garden, in my little spot, and do my devotional work, and yeah, just drink in the quietude. But yeah, so that's all I want to say at the moment. I will have other things to say over the coming weeks. There's some places that I'm going to visit, not Avebury, obviously that's a bit later on, but some places in Essex that I'm going to visit and make some videos about those, because there's I mean, Essex has got you know, it's got no stone circles, or none that remain anyway. So it's not like the southwest of England is where the remaining dolmens and stone circles and things like that are. But Essex has got some very interesting places and some, you know, some really interesting energy spots that I'd like to share with you. So I will be making videos about those over the coming weeks, and yeah, I hope you will find them interesting. But anyway, I will bid you good night and farewell, and as Dave Allen would have said, or to paraphrase as Dave Allen would have said, may your gods go with you. Cheerio.